I do that every freaking time. I think that should just be my bit. Just forget to take down that thumbnail.
Yeah.
But everyone, thanks for joining us here today on Schmoe Me The Money, as we will be going over the first full week of matches here in the movie trivia Schmoedown Season 8, the season of war. We have 3 amazing guests with us today, so it's going to be a fantastic show. Jeff, any predictions on how you think the night may go?
Actually, no, I don't have any predictions. I do think it's going to be very interesting. We have 1 returning panelist and 2 people that have not been on the show yet. So unfortunately, we only know the record of the 1 person. The other 2, they're very good at studying records. So we'll see how that maybe predict the outcome.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I believe this might be the first time that these 2 go head to head on a stream. These 2 people are probably the most well known in this space when it comes to Schmoedown stats and numbers. So it's going to be extremely fun to watch. So introducing first, she is from Call to Action. She is the stats queen. It is Megan McCurley. Did I say that right?
Close enough, yes.
Okay.
Megs.
Close enough.
Megs works too.
Yes.
No formalities here.
Yes.
Megs, the plural of Meg.
Yes. Oh my gosh, what show? Oh my gosh. So, Megs, what's your feeling going into the show today?
You know what? I really enjoy talking numbers. I really enjoy talking about the Schmoedown. So any chance I get to do that and throw in a little bit of competition in there, it's going to be a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. We definitely got some good matches last week to discuss, so tonight should be extremely fun. So I'm very excited. Our second guest, this is his second time on the show. He was just on a couple weeks ago. From Spin from the Reel, Mr. Matt Thomas. Matt,
what's up, guys? You know.
Oh my gosh. You just had to
excited?
wear that.
No, I wore the hat, 1, because this is my lucky hat. 2, my hair is abysmal today, so it covers up that mess up there. So
Hey, man, my family, a lot of my family is in Ohio, so I remember when that day happened, they went crazy.
great, because I started working at Costco and I had to be up at 5:00 the next morning.
It's got to be rough. That has got to be rough. Our third and final contestant. Everyone knows who this man is. He just goes by one name from the Schmoedown Rundown. Frankie Numbers Janish. Frankie, how's it going?
It's going good, guys. How's everyone doing out there?
Everyone's doing great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
doing well.
Awesome.
Excited to talk some Schmoedown here tonight. It's definitely going to be very fun. We'll just kind of go over it match by match. So let's go ahead and get our scoreboard up here. We're going to have to do some rearranging. There we go. Everyone is where they're supposed to be. So, first topic of the night is the first match that we got last week. The Battle of IG Rookies. Amaru Moses versus Jesse Swift. Was a very entertaining match. There was a lot of things that happened there. We got more of these new wheel slices. So, Megs, question for you. Your prompt here is, what are your thoughts so far on the new wheel slices that we've been getting here in the Inner Geekdom division?
So I think these new categories are really going to become both an equalizer for some of these competitors, as well as a way to really distinguish some of the older competitors from some of these new ones coming in, because the older competitors were used to having to study only these very broad categories, and there's some specific. But now you've got all these brand new categories encompassing movies that have never been part of IG before. How are they going to adjust to having to study those movies on top of keeping up of all the other ones that they've had to do so far? So I'm really excited to see how this new batch of categories is really going to make things interesting stats-wise, how the averages in this league are going to change, how we're going to be able to see all the differentiations between the competitors, who's going to be able to keep up with it, who's going to come out straight off from the gate having those really good rounds and being able to bring up those really high percentages. Percentages are always a big thing when it comes to studying the Schmoedown, and the idea that we have so many new factors coming in is really going to make it interesting when you're analyzing what's happening during the matches. How many people are going to be getting perfect first rounds, how many people are going to be able to sweep those wheel rounds, and as well as all those deep cuts that we have there in round 3 that we are so well known for here in the Schmoedown. I think it's going to make things really interesting. I've really been excited to see all the different movies come in and things that'll be able to bring in a new fan base to this league as well, because there'll be different categories that people will be able to attach to and relate to, and also know what kind of movies that we're talking about and be able to play along and do much better.
There we go. Round one there for Megs is over. Some really solid points. Gets out to a very early lead there, Jeff. 14-0.
Early lead. Of course, it's an early lead.
Naturally?
I'm just saying.
You're trying to make me feel good. It's okay. It's fine. My ego's not that sensitive.
So, one of the major stories from this match was a challenge that didn't get in time. The question was, basically, it was a quote.
Yeah, it was a quote. What Superman movie it was from.
And it was from Superman the movie, but in the doc, it was like Superman the motion picture, so it was considered an incorrect answer. Matt, what are your thoughts just on the whole missed challenge? Like, should there be a longer time frame? Should they have, like, by the end of the following question for it? Or should it just be you have until the reading of the next question? Just your thoughts on the missed challenge, and is it a big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal. If you want, Christian has always talked about we're treating this like a sport going on from now. That is how they do it in sports. You have until the next play to throw a challenge flag. And the NFL and the NBA, if you want to challenge something, you have to do it right away. And if you don't do that, then you've lost your chance. Buck, you and I have had these conversations before. The Schmoedown pick and chooses when it is a sport. This is one of those times it's a sport, and rightfully so. Because if you allow someone to challenge two things later, it throws off the entire momentum of the game. So I rather keep it that way. Yes, Jesse came out on the short end of the stick, but ultimately it happens. Coy should have challenged that right away. And Christian even said he should have used the benefit of the doubt, because the movie, it's the same thing. Ultimately, it's just the same thing. I feel for Jesse. I feel for Amru, because we had them on last night on Spin from the Real, and Amru's like, when I heard it wasn't Superman the movie, it threw me off. So I feel like there should be a certain point where even the Christian and Mark step in and be like, hold on, we need to take a moment and look at this question, because maybe it's not worded the best or right. So, I mean, ultimately what happened, but it was the right call at the end of the day. So that's my time.
That is his time, so might as well just stop the clock there, Zach. Yeah, that I was shocked too. I was like, I swore that was Superman, the movie. So I was even thrown for a loop. I thought maybe it was Superman 2. Maybe that's what it was. So it was odd when they said Superman the motion picture. I'm like, isn't that kind of like one and the same?
Yeah, and when I was there last night, I mean, it's an honest mistake considering the amount of questions that are written. Like they do such a great job. And you think about late 70s sci-fi fantasy motion pictures. It came out right around the exact same time as Star Trek the motion picture, and both subtitles basically mean the movie. So that is a sort of thing that's such like you can't, you know, that they did their best there. So yeah. Can
we talk about the pettiness that was all my movies right after the match of Superman the movie?
That was.
That's called irony.
Yeah, that was.
That's not petty. I don't think Dan is petty.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about Christian. That's.
Christian scheduling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way that it worked. So Frank, Moses was the second overall pick in the draft, so there was a lot of expectation and hype on him. He looked good in the match. Do you feel like he lived up to the value of a second overall pick in the Schmoedown draft?
Well, if you're going to judge, what these players do in the league, and that's get wins, not really how you win most of the time. It's that you got the win, and Amaru got the win. That picks up valuable 3 points for the usual suspects. So if you drafted him thinking he's going to win, well, so far he's gotten you one win out of one match. So I think so far he's living up to being that second overall pick. Did he look the greatest? No, I think there's lots of room for improvement. That's why I was encouraged about his words in his post-match interview, saying, look, I scored 19, but I'm going to go ahead and get 20 or more the next time. And he has that type of mentality to keep building upon what he's learning and what he's figuring out the game. Schmoedown's a different animal than fan leagues, and so I think as time goes on, Amaru will get more familiar with the game, more comfortable. His first week, really kind of like the first match of our regular schedule. So for him to be in that spot with Jesse was pretty big. And when you play for Sam Levine or any of these managers really, but Sam Levine, who has the aid of Rachel Cushing, and you have all that talent over there to help you get prepared for these matches, and all the experience, the championship experience over there between Rachel and Sam alone, then you have Ethan, you have guys and players who know how to prepare, and that's going to be instilled upon Amaru. So I think part of being just a knowledgeable player, he'll mature as a player with these other players in his corner.
Yeah, some really solid points there. Now, we do have our 4 minutes of open time, and I do want to preface this. We did have something new added this week and going forward. In these open sections in the first 4 rounds, the 3 panelists do have the option of saying mute, and they get 10 seconds to themselves to say whatever they want. They can use that to take basically take hold of the conversation if need be. They do not have to use them. But it is up to each of them. They each get to use it once. So they
once throughout the whole match, yeah.
Yes, once throughout the whole match of the first 4 rounds. So use it once, use it wisely. So for this open discussion, it's just really everyone's thoughts on the match. Did both rookies have a solid debut? Is there something that they both should work on? And how soon do you think we'll see either one of them with their next matches?
Ultimately, I think both rookies did have the debut that they needed. When I was on here a couple weeks ago, I said Jesse needed to keep up with Amaru, and he did that for the most part. Did he collapse?
Keeping up? What about that 3rd round?
No, that's what I was about to get to. Did he collapse in the 3rd round? Yes.
Is that a strong showing? Is that going to be what gets you a match? You have a point.
I just said he just needed to keep up. Those first 2 rounds, it was about even. Going into round 3, it was a 1-point difference. 1 point.
1 point does not make a difference if you don't pull it through in the 5th round.
That's still keeping up. At the end of the day, that's still keeping up. Everybody thought Jesse would get smashed. Everybody thought it would be a TKO or a knockout. Jesse was
it could have been. It very well could have been the way he played.
Jesse was able to answer his 5. What Jesse needs to work on is Jesse needs to slow the fuck down. His questions, part of my language. Jesse.
Well, I appreciate the idea, but it's still the same idea. You can stay up with the 1st round, the 2nd round all day long, and it doesn't matter because you're not going to win unless you can pull out those big wins in the 3rd round.
That's why I said Jesse needs to slow down. Literally, RIPD, the Lawman, Jeff Bridges, like. If you said Ryan Reynolds, the Lawman. That tells you like the elder statesman. Everyone knows Ryan Reynolds.
Well, what did he do? He couldn't do anything because he used 2 of his JTEs in round 1. How is that going to help
him? He uses 2 of his JTEs in round 1 and still got the questions right. So I think that
he did, which kept him out of TKO territory from the get-go. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be able to keep up with those higher elite players.
We're not saying he's not going to be playing the higher elite players right away. He's playing the
way he talks, he wants to be. He was calling out Chandra when he started.
Yeah, well, you can talk all you want and look like a fool when you don't get the matchups that you're asking.
Well, I tell you,
the bottom, you still got to work your way up.
You have to work your way up.
Yeah, like, Jesse's got a lot to work, a lot of weight, a lot of
rookies are going to have to
go. Whether it's when you have an average of 80% accuracy in the IG and you're scoring only 60%, I'm sorry, you have a problem. You need to put in some serious work.
Yes, that is an issue. I will not disagree with you there. That is an issue. But Amaru didn't have the strongest showing either. He missed 2 easy Morgan Freeman questions.
He should have TKO'd him then. If he had that strong of a showing.
He didn't. That's the thing. I just said he didn't have the strongest showing. Literally.
But we're talking about if they had a strong showing. I'm saying neither of them had their best day.
Hey, I'm not saying they had their best day. I'm just saying they still performed well enough to show they'll belong in the league.
From here to the next match.
Exactly. And if we get to see them in the tournaments, they're going to be able to show that how much they improve over months. I don't want to see them play right away. I want to wait, give them a chance to mature.
But I think this is also an issue I had with the new setup. Because
it's a larger roster in your game.
It's a larger roster.
It is.
These matches like a month in advance. So some of these players Like this match was recorded in early February. These guys had 2 weeks to prep with over 100 new movies that they weren't expecting to have. Like, it's not like some of these other.
What did we see with the title match? We saw much higher accuracies in that title match. Glenn Moore has not been here in 2 years. Come on.
Those
talking
players
about these guys being championship players right now? Of course not. They're not championship players right now. So I don't
know
why we would
You're not
bring that
expecting
into
them to be
the
championship.
If you got a second-round pick and you put that much faith in him, I would want to see a little bit better.
You got the win. You got the points. Not a lot of second-round players or second-pick players are
He's
going.
got the win, but that's not going to give him longevity if he doesn't shape up.
Hey,
well, that's
it happens.
It's
a debut for a reason. It's a debut. You're not expecting them to TKO perfect round in their first match. I mean, Adam Collins has.
What did Kevin Smets do?
Well, okay,
what did he do?
Kevin Smets. Not everybody's Kevin Smets.
And he was a rookie.
Adam Collins. It's just one of those facts. Everyone's different.
Oh, Jeff, remind me never to make Megs angry. God. Ooh, I was like, oh boy, she's taking control. She's taking the power there. She took advantage there of the cross discussion time. Definitely.
You want to make Megs angry? Just speak over her during a study session.
That too. Yeah. Go ahead and try that. I dare you.
That was a lot there in the first one. That was pretty interesting for sure. Definitely some fun points that I didn't necessarily think of before. I know didn't hear as much from Frank this time, but the few words that he did say that time, they definitely hit to me. They mattered.
Yep.
So, but we're going to move on now to round 2, which happens to be the second match of the week, which was Sean Sullivan versus Marie E. Wilson, the Star Wars match. And so, Matt, we're going to start with you here. Now, Matt, Marie is from the Dragon Con players now, and there's been a whole lot of hype, a whole lot of talk about Dragon Con, and, is the hype worth it there? Marie had a pretty solid debut, potentially, but I guess, is it as solid as we might have anticipated for a Dragon Con player, based on all the hype leading up to it?
Yeah, ultimately it was. She scored 22 points. Sully couldn't hit his 3 or his 5. She didn't even have to answer her 5. It's just one of those things. 22 points is nothing to scoff at. Quiz show, you were on Spin for Mirror last night, and you're like, I'm expecting 20 points. Like, if I don't get 20 points, it's rough. Amar even said the same thing. Ultimately, there were questions that you wouldn't expect a lot of people to hit, like Boga. No, like, I sat there, and I'm like, she knew that? I'm a big Star Wars fan. I didn't know the name of that creature. It's just one of those things. She got lucky that Sullivan missed out on those 2 points from another question that should have been challenged, because that's not a line in the film. It's just one of those things. Ultimately, she is a strong player. She had a near perfect first. She did very well on her second, and the third she killed it. She came from behind and won it. That's what you want to see. Like Frank said last round, all that matters in these first few matches for rookies is you get the dub. And think about this. She was the last of the Dragon Con players picked. She was the last one. Burkett went before her. Thomas Harper went 3rd overall. Gold Leader went before her. She had a Star Wars rookies picked before her. And she came out and beat Sean Sullivan, who talked shit about all the Dragon Con players before the draft even happened. So she showed up.
He definitely talked a lot of shit on Dragon Con players. I remember being on some of those things. It was definitely fun to hear those whiskey-fueled rants. But Frank, one thing that we noticed was there was a question regarding quotes that was asked during the match, and it really kind of brought up this conversation of when it comes to these questions asked, especially something as where the details are so fine at Star Wars. Should questions come from the shooting script, or should it just be from the film and the visual dictionaries associated?
Yeah, I think it should come from the films and visual dictionaries, and nothing that was a shooting script is not really something that you're normally going to go look up to prepare for any kind of Interkingdom match or Star Wars match, like players have done in the past when they prepare for these hyper-specific divisions. I know players have looked at the script of what the movie, like what's there to see if they missed any detail, not if something was once in a different version. That's not what the Interkingdom or Star Wars divisions or movie trivia league is about. Any of that stuff. So. Is an oversight on the writing team's part about where they pull that information, and look, it's just one of those things where, I think at least for the Star Wars players, I know that the Star Wars, the people, the question writers for the Star Wars players, man, that's a mouthful. That's tough because there's a lot of, they have to go much deeper than probably their own average or maybe even above average knowledge of Star Wars is. They have to go a lot deeper. So sometimes, I think you can get things mixed around. You think one thing is right and another thing is wrong, or vice versa. And it can be very tiresome trying to come up with these questions nowadays for players like these Dragon Con players are coming in, who I think, they're just as good as everyone we have in the league, in the division right now. I don't know that there's any evidence to suggest that they're they're world beaters, but we'll see.
All right, very cool. And you got there right on the exact zero there with that time frame. So
I don't get extra credit for that. Okay, never mind.
No extra credit, unfortunately. Maybe next time if we change the rules that we make up on the spot anyway. So, but. Interesting points there. Once again, I know that it's sort of pointing out something with question writers, and we're deeply thankful for everything that the question writers do.
Oh, yeah,
they are the best, and so no question that ever comes associated with that as any sort of malice there. It's a fun conversation sometimes too. But Megs, something that's very interesting that we've noticed when it came to Sully, you've probably noticed it in your stats stuff. Is Sully scored 19, 20, 20 in his last three matches, but and he really talks up a lot about how much better he has been than some other players when he plays along, etc. What do you think the chances are? Do you think Sully might ever get over that 20-point hump?
Well, I think that all depends, again, as we were talking about the previous match. It's that third round that gets him every single time. He has a solid performance in round one, round two, varying degrees there, but it's that third round he keeps catching those questions that he's just not quite able to figure out and to quite pull. And that is what is required now for these really aspiring Star Wars competitors like the Laura Kellys, like the Alex Damons, like the Demolantes. They need to be able to pull those 3, 2s, 5-point questions there in that last round in order to have the distance to survive with these higher level competitors. You mentioned his scores. He's running about a 73% accuracy. We're looking at an 86% accuracy on average for this league. And you're seeing the 90s for the top tier competitors. So again, it's that idea. You may have a decent run in the round one, round two. You need every single point there, because if you want to stick with these higher level competitors, you have got to be able to hit those 3-pointers. You've got to be able to have that deep knowledge that maybe is beyond. And it might just be that he has that knowledge. He's just not hitting those questions that he knows. You can get asked 200 questions and 201 and beyond. It's just those ones that you don't know that you're getting hit with. And that seems to be if we're to believe the hype that he's given himself, that is what we're seeing him do. And hopefully something changes. Maybe when he comes around in a tournament, he can have a difference.
Interesting stuff there for sure. It's always fun to try to read into how someone might do based on all the shit they talk. Especially there's only so much you can back up based on like how much you can hype yourself up. But that really goes into same sort of prompt as the last round where basic thoughts on the whole match. We had someone talking shit about Dragon Con versus Dragon Con, and Dragon Con ended up triumphing. So I guess I just want your general thoughts on the match as a whole. Like what do you think Sully needs to do better again? Is there anywhere that Marie needs to improve on as well? Are you excited to see where she might go next? Sully, now he's in corruption. What does that mean? Does that change how you might see him as a player? So just general thoughts overall.
I like John Sullivan in corruption. a lot.
I'll say Sean Sullivan on
Sean
corruption is
Sullivan,
awesome.
Their chemistries work well together. His persona, it's kind of his natural vibe.
He shouldn't be the saint anymore. He shouldn't be the saint. You just got to say that right now.
I think
He can still be a saint in
also-
corruption. That's fine.
No, you
appreciate
are
he's
not
gonna-
a corrupt saint. But
If he's going to remain a saint, or if he's not going to move over onto that
it's
corruption winning train if he doesn't
more
shape
ironic
up that
situation.
third round.
Yeah,
Marie,
I agree with you.
she was strong. The only time that I ever saw her stumble was that second round question. She had a little bit of a struggle with how that question was worded, but that's the thing. She's coming from DragonCon, who has very different types of questions. You pull her into this, she has the knowledge. It's how is she going to apply it? It's knowing what type of question is going to get asked. And I mean, she still got the win, and she still was able to stick with those higher level questions, which, as I said with Sully, that has been his kryptonite this entire time he's been in this league.
So here, Sean Sullivan came on
obvious.
the call to action back in January, talking trash about how DragonCon players are asked questions. Like to bring.
Oh,
up,
I heard that.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah, it was.
but the idea
all of them
is
are multiple
he can
choice.
talk it all he wants. It doesn't matter if he doesn't know his own questions. He can talk about her if she messes up, but he messes up too. It doesn't matter. She's still going to
He
win.
couldn't back it up. And that's what I'm saying. She's going to win because she has that experience. She has a deeper knowledge.
Well, I mean, look,
But if she's going to miss a 2-point question like that, there's no way she's going to be able to beat Alex.
He had only played in 2 matches before he played Marie Wilson, which is not a whole lot of experience. So
it's not. And the Star Wars division doesn't get a whole lot of matches. We're going to get more this year, which is going to be
She
good.
hasn't played a single Schmoedown match. Think about that. She didn't play a single Schmoedown match before this. She scored
And yet
24
she
in her
still
debut.
beat him. Who is...
Exactly. Who's been in the league for a year, had a year of league training under his belt. At the end of the day, you should have been able to handle that, and he couldn't. You missed out on your 3 and your 5. The third round, like she just said, is his kryptonite. It was last year, it was this year. So far, it's looking that way this year. Sean Sullivan is a
Look.
great
If
player.
we're talking about how did they perform, the only crux that I saw with Marie Wilson at all was that second round question. She recovered beautifully though, but it's because she's not used to this type of question.
Exactly.
Give her one more match, and she is going to improve by leaps and bounds.
I
Sullivan,
don't think
he's
it's
had
merely
a
about the
match.
question. It's about whether or not she knows how to pull those answers.
It's the style of how
I think the question confused her. It confused me when I first heard it. I jumped to the same conclusion that she did
We're talking
initially.
about 2 different things. We're talking about the way questions are written or what she knows, and so
I think she knew it. She knew the fact. She just thought they were asking about something different,
At the end of the
which
day,
is fair, and that is understandable if you're not used to those styles
you have
of
to be able
questions.
to separate it. And
We're seeing so many different types of questions in this in
in
the Star Wars League this year because you have so much that has to happen and so many new types of questions you have to bring to make it new and fresh. And I think she handled it beautifully. And Sean has seen all these matches. He's been around since the beginning. He knows what kind of questions they ask. He knows what's been asked before. And I don't understand what he's not quite catching in that last round.
I don't think it takes a genius to go back and watch these matches from last year. I'm pretty sure Marie Wilson did that. Sean Sullivan was only in 2, so you got to watch everything else.
If she's got Sam and Rachel, she's gonna know strategy. She's gonna know how to navigate the game.
DragonCon study cards to match how the Schmoedown is. She rearranged her entire studying regimen to fit for the Schmoedown.
Yeah, because you gotta get all the canon stuff out of her head, which that is her only thing that might trip her up. If she's gonna get stuck on canon, that might be something that's gonna trip her up. But it doesn't matter if her opponent doesn't get his final round questions. She's still gonna win because she's got.
Wow. That was a lot of talking to absorb. It's interesting, the whole idea of like canon in her head, because whenever I think of that stuff when it comes to DragonCon players, I think Paulo Yama saying the wrong color shoes for Wizard of Oz. Yeah, it's I think it's a pretty good example there. But once again, we can see that Frank is starting to close the gap a little with Matt there. You're still able to, like, when you jump in, you say stuff that's really good though, and that matters. Megs, I don't know if you took a break.
So you guys are lucky I'm doing this. I agreed to be on this, and I got called in early to work.
Hey, man, we're glad to have you here. Now, I do want to just remind everyone before we go to the next the next round, a couple things. One, everyone still has one mute available. If they want to use it, that'll mute the other two people for 10 seconds. So if you want to just be able to stop someone from talking and then be able to say whatever you want in order to get more points, to get ahead, to stop them, to derail the conversation, you still can. Also, not that you have to do it, but just got to plug it anyway. We do have a Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Schmoe Me The Money. It's there in the bottom corner of the screen. We also have it pinned in the chat. Send in if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, questions, any of that good stuff. So, but other than that, we're off to the round 3 now.
All right, round number 3 is our first singles match of the year. We had Lady Justice herself, Marisol McKee versus the Ice Pick Vinny Mancuso. Now, Marisol was talked up quite a bit this offseason. Everyone was wondering, how was she going to get back on Corruption? How was Shannon going to get her back? So my question to you, Frank, is she won, but it wasn't I would say the most convincing win. Did she live up to all of the talk that everyone was saying about Marisol this offseason?
Yeah, I did. I think despite win or lose, depending on how the outcome, how your opponent plays, Vinny could have went perfect and she could have missed one. Would you say because she lost she didn't live up to the hype? No, I would say she definitely did. She just got a bad beat. And here, while she did get the W, she did play very solidly. So I think she lives up to the promise of what everyone has seen in very small doses from last year. 3-4 matches, 2 teams and 2 single matches. From what everyone saw the promise of someone that could be really special in this league. And all of us fans and people in the Schmoedown alike have been watching this show for years, and we know when we see something special, it only takes a matter of time before it becomes the next big thing. And I think the majority of the fan base and people at Schmoedown headquarters, if you will, believe that there's something special about Marisol, and playing as well as she did and getting the win on top of it further proves why she was worth being traded for, even if it took 2 draft picks. Was that the best deal in the world? I think it's kind of working out for both sides there. I think we'll still have to wait a little bit more to see what Kate's picks in those spots ultimately do. But right now, Marisol was traded for 2 picks and she delivered a win. I don't know if people have a number in mind what she's got to do to earn those 2 picks, but look, she won her first one, and you just go on to the next one and to the next one and see how she plays.
Yeah, we're
Nice.
definitely.
I just want to point something out real quick. 2 out of 3 of the questions that we had about did X player live up to the hype went to Frank.
Yeah.
Just so.
Brandy, yeah,
Yeah,
this might.
that was a great line.
This might be quote of the year.
Yeah.
This might be quote of the year. There will be no justice this year, just ice.
I was like, oh, that's good wordplay. Good job, Vinny.
I thought that was extremely clever. Megs, Vinny Mancuso is 1 and 2. I would say that he's a lot better than that record shows. He took Ethan Irwin pretty far in the singles tournament last year, and he just struggled there in round 3 against Marisol. What does Vinny need to do to kind of break out this year in singles?
So for Vinny, he is another one of those competitors that, again, we're seeing a big discrepancy in having decent performance there in that round 1 and round 2, and just, again, stumbling a little bit there in that 3rd round. He only answered his 2-point question against Ethan Irwin, so I don't know kind of what if that constitutes taking him down to the wire when you're talking about Ethan Irwin, who has gone into overtime in championship matches. But, neither here nor there, he is still a good competitor. And I think that he just needs, again, a break of those questions, a break of him to really get some traction inside of a match. He was ahead coming out of round 2 with Marisol, but again, he couldn't keep that momentum up into that 3rd round. So he needs that momentum to really get him on a roll, to feel confident in answering these questions. I think he's got a great attitude. I love his different character for the league. But again, he needs to get a couple wins under his belt to get that momentum going, because that momentum is just going to propel him into that next level of competition. I think he thrives on momentums. And I think his character is going to really thrive once he gets into that momentum. And that is just going to keep boosting his confidence, be able to let him feel confident in his matches, to be able to keep going, to take an extra effort to really get those wins, and to be able to, again, move into that next level that I think his knowledge deserves.
All right, some solid points there. I can definitely tell on Matt's face he has something to say, so we'll definitely get to that. So in round 2, Matt, Marisol spun Opponent's Choice, which usually for a competitor can be extremely deadly. She was given Middle Earth, where she got 6 out of 8 points. She did lose 2 points on steals. And those questions were depending on who you ask. For me personally, because I love Lord of the Rings, I thought they were fairly easy questions. Should singles competitors be nervous for these intergeekdom slices if they're going to be questions like this? You can also talk about what Frank or Meg said before you go.
Because it's obvious you have thoughts.
Oh, I'll save it for that. I'll save it for the middle. Don't worry. I'll say.
Let's go.
But no. No, I don't. I do not think singles players should be that worried. These are films that are some of the biggest pop culture films in the last few years. Any of these IG slices, that should be movies most people know, whether it's just a general singles player or an IG player, or even hell, some Star Wars players know this. These are some of the biggest films in the history of cinema. Talk about these films every single day. I can't tell you how many times I've watched Lord of the Rings a year, Star Wars, Harry Potter. You think about all these different films that are coming over from IG, and you're missing these questions. Granted, the Gollum one, that was a beautifully written question, because a lot of people forget that he's in those 2 quick bits. Well-written question. But as a singles player, you should be willing to study not just the single stuff, but keep in mind, these IG slices are going to be on there. You are going to have that. So at the end of the day, you need to be as well versed in those as you do single slices, because they're going to be on the wheel this season. Like, if you think that you're not going to get some easier Star Trek, or excuse me, Lucasfilm, because that's the new slice in there, you're mistaken. Like, they're going to be softer ball questions than you're used to seeing for those categories. So take them, watch those movies, get to know them, because ultimately that can get you some really easy points.
Some solid points there. Jeff, how are you feeling that this match? This match seems to be a little bit more laid back than some of our previous ones, wouldn't you say?
I don't know if it's laid back. I think that's just Frank. I think
I'm just tired. I'm tired, bro.
You think it's laid back, but obviously you're not listening to Megs and Matt try to talk over each other, because I'm getting heart palpitations. So
the score may not reflect it, but
it's the score may not reflect it. I'm pretty sure this is the earliest we've gotten to just over or just under 100 yet. So I think the score does reflect.
This match aired on Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific, right before the pay-per-view. It wasn't officially a part of the card, but it definitely felt like it could have been a good undercard to that match between Snyder and Merle. So I just want to get everyone's thoughts on just how this match went. Could we see?
You know English. You're good.
What are words? Could Marisol potentially maybe see herself in a number 1 contenders match if she wins maybe 2 or 3 matches this season?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna start off here, because I got some points to push back on Frankie over here. Marisol has not proven that she is worth that 1st and 2nd round pick. We saw the same Marisol. I know Chris Lopez, my co-host, likes to say, well, Paul had to go perfect to beat Marisol last year. Paul
Marisol's
only had to answer his 2-point question to win that match. He didn't even have to answer his 3 or his 5. Frank said, I don't know a number you need to say that the Marisol trade or her value represents a good trade. I said it last night. Quiz show is my witness. I need 2 wins in singles and 2 wins in teams. I didn't see a player who I felt confident in picking a singles win for her next match, depending
But
on
what
who
does she bring to the faction as a whole? You're talking
Here's
about
her
an idea
value
that
to the
she is.
faction. Her value to
She's
the
bringing in the
faction is
core
team.
trio
It's
that
deception.
Shannon had: Collins,
It's deception.
Marisol,
That's her entire
Chance,
value to this faction.
Match.
It's all a deception, because at the end of the day, she looks shaky. She looked shaky that match. And I
don't know what
shaky?
effing match you were looking
Oh,
at.
What in the world?
that
Shaky
is
at
the most
85%? What are you
insane
talking
I
about?
had ever heard. When you
80%,
look
yes,
at her
actually.
reaction when she loses or she misses a question, she doesn't even.
Oh, yeah.
flinch or
She
fly
does
at
not like
She
it. She's
continues
kicking
to look at it.
herself.
And that's
She
shaky.
doesn't
I don't know
flinch.
what
No,
you
no,
were.
no,
There were some Disney
no.
questions that
That
they
is not
both
shaky.
missed.
That
There
is
were
her hitting
Disney
a bad batch of
that
questions.
she-
They all do. She is
Whether it was her,
consistently hitting the
whether it was
80%
Vinny,
shit. She's
at the
been in
end
this
of the
league.
day,
She's
they
only going to
missed
be able to get a
really
little bit
easy
better.
questions.
I think she was totally
Jackson,
worth it. She has that
She
history with
missed Gollum.
corruption.
Like, she missed the Gollum question. I mean, granted, Vinny did not have a great match either. Action Jackson. That was one of the easiest things I could ever think of. A
Really?
black
Okay,
lead
but
in the
let's
80s.
walk
about
back here to
any
Marisol
black
here.
athletes
You
that-
cannot tell me that somebody who has a percentage that is average for a singles competitor for someone who's in her sophomore season, she's going to get better. She's going to have Collins by her side when we get into teams.
I grade match by match.
It was
That's
worth
how I
it
look at
because of the morale that
I
it gives
get
to
to
corruption.
see
Corruption is
wins.
trying to duplicate a faction title, and she was a big part of that last season.
was a
So
big
it
part of it
totally
at the
makes
end of
sense
the
for her
day.
Shannon to do whatever she could to get that girl back, and I believe it is going to be worth it.
There are two players that she could have gotten. There are two. One of those players that were picked with one of her picks. I'm not going to spoil the match because it's a patron match right now and it goes live tomorrow. But think about what we've seen, what we know.
What we've seen and what we're going to see are two very different things, sir. It is so early in the season. I don't even know why we're necessarily having this conversation about her being worth it. She has a chance to go in to do something that has not been done for quite some time, to see a female get that title match. And I think she could do it.
She
Her
can.
and Collins,
I don't
go
have
for
any
it.
doubt in her ability to, but I didn't see a player. I felt like, I think I wanted to see a strong
An opponent's choice that she.
I wanted to see a player that was strong and dominating. That's what I was expecting to see when I saw that match. I wanted to see her dominate. We all
getting a
built her
win.
up.
She was down and she picked herself back up and she came back in that third round. That is what you do. Championship level player, you do not give up.
I needed domination. I wanted to see domination. We all built her up.
Domination with opponent's choice, it's a little tough to do when you've already missed a question or two in round one.
At the end of the day, here's my thing.
You play the game that's given you, and she was given a little bit of a rough patch, but she persevered into that third round. And like we've seen with these other competitors, you're not seeing that happen. So she is still higher level than anything else I've seen.
I just want to say my grandmother came in and interrupted my ass for being too loud.
I heard a voice. I heard a voice being like, "Shut up" or something like that. In the background.
That's my grandmother.
Aww.
Bless her. It was her birthday yesterday, so I got to listen to her a little bit.
Happy birthday, Grandma Matt. She, because I know
If
you're.
you weren't
I know
yelling,
you're
I
watching.
wouldn't have to.
Hi. It is what it is.
That was and I love how Frank's just like sitting back there, like every so often.
He's chill.
Like, it's like a sniper. It's just little shots here and there, here and there.
He deals with Brad all the time, so he knows how to just pick his shots.
Hey, I will say this. I know I have out there takes. Some of these takes might not be my actual opinions. Some of these may just be out there to get the dub. You'll never know unless you watch.
So here's the deal. You're pulling an ASG right now when he was on last week when he tweeted out saying the thoughts and comments of Schmoe Me The Money may not reflect my actual opinions.
Hey,
I appreciate the legalese though.
At the same time, Quiz Show, you know my full opinions because we talked about them last night. I do stand by I feel she needs to get 2 wins in each division she plays in. That is something I do stand by. That is what
I definitely heard those words come out of your mouth. That's correct.
All right, moving on to topic number 4, Jeff.
Yeah. All right, topic number 4. The big pay-per-view match of the week.
Before we move forward, there will be spoilers for us discussing this match. For anyone that has not watched the match because it's not public yet, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the pay-per-view match, leave, or if you don't care of getting spoiled.
Yeah, it is not public, but there was a Facebook poll. So the Facebook poll said it's okay. So are you good, Matt? You hot? You all right?
Yeah, I'm wearing all black, and it's still like 70 degrees out. So in Ohio,
70
I was happy to be able to drive around with having the window down here in Ohio. So.
Oh, you live in Ohio also?
Come on.
Okay,
I do.
Mad respect. Northeast or what area? I'm up in Cleveland.
West Central.
Okay, respect.
I'm not. I'm in Philly. Not that you asked.
Hey, you're close.
But,
you're close enough. You're close enough to the rest of us.
Yeah, it's like a 6 hour. It's like a 6 to 8 hour drive, depending on traffic and weather. So I know I do. I've done it like once a year. Anyways, so back to round 4, being Snyder versus Merle. So we got we got a big match. It was the very first time that we ever. It's crazy. It's the first time that we ever ended up having Snyder versus Merle in any context between teams, between singles. So two titans, like arguably the greatest player of all time versus arguably the greatest team player of all time. How are they going to shape up now that they finally went up against each other? Obviously, things went in Merle's favor, as many predicted. Many people have probably felt because it's hard to bet against Merle. As much as some people are big fans of Snyder. But Megs, right from the start, we noticed something could have been off with that Little Women question. Now, do you think it's possible, based on what we've seen with Jeff in the past and now, do you think it's possible that just one question right at the beginning could have put him on a path for this loss?
I think had Roxy not come in after round 1, we definitely would have seen him completely tank. He was able to brush it off for the most part, but this match came down to minor errors. It was that extra miss for him in round 1, and then Dan Merle not checking down to multiple choice as many times in round 2 that kept Merle ahead. And they both got all 3 of their round 3 questions. So he did what he had to do to keep up with Merle once we got past those first 2 rounds. So he couldn't really do much else if he was already behind, because both of them have the potential of being such great players that they're going to get all 3 questions in round 3. And as Roxy has said, you do what you have to do and you do what you can from there on forward. You can only control the questions that you're given. And he unfortunately had a stumble there in that very first round, which I think threw him off some, but I feel like by the end, he was locked back in. He was just going to do his best for Roxy, for the Stars. He was going to do what he had to do, and I think it just wasn't enough to overcome those little hiccups there at the beginning, given that Merle played at the level he does. And we shouldn't be surprised by that, because Merle has always played at a very high caliber since this new era has really begun, and I don't think Snyder was just trying to keep up with him. And I think it was unfortunate that he got that miss there in that first round, but I don't think it set him on a collision course like we've seen with previous matches. And I think he's overcome that stigma for the most part.
Very cool. There are some really good points in there as well, especially the whole, he was basically playing from behind from the beginning. But Matt, one thing that a lot of people have been anticipating, Dan won. Now Dan's going to go up against Collins again. That's his main focus. There have been people for the last, over a year that have just been waiting for the day that Dan's going to put his hat in the ring. That hat with that the Florida University Florida State University.
Seminoles.
Put that Florida State University hat in the ring and for IG. And we still haven't seen it yet. And we know that he might be excited for it still, but right now it's not what he's planning on because he has a singles match. But do you think we're ever going to see Dan enter IG?
All right, here's what I'll say. I'd love to see Dan in IG personally. It's something we all want to see eventually. But at the end of the day, does it really make sense right now, considering his partner and his girlfriend, who's basically his wife, right now is the IG champion? And we know that Christian is trying to avoid these faction-on-faction championship matches because that's guaranteed points. That's what he said. We don't want to give away guaranteed points. if Dan goes into IG right now, and if he plays the damn role we know in singles, he'll dominate. That's just how it is. Like, and we all trust Dan to do that. But that means eventually, if Mara's still the champion, he has to play Mara. And they're on the same thing, avoid it. And that's going to be to the detriment of the fans. I completely understand where Christian is on the match so he can get a 3-way match. All right, cool. I get it. But I could care less. I love seeing Daniel succeed, but I ultimately just want to see him keep succeeding. I don't care what division. It can be singles. It can be IG. Hell, if you want to do Star Wars, it can be Star Wars. I don't care. I just want to see the man dominate, and that's what he does anytime he plays. So at the end of the day, Dan Merle is the GOAT as much as Jeff Snyder still hasn't admitted it, even though he said he would if Dan beat him. So, hey, that's just me.
All right. I don't know if it was just me, but Matt was cutting in and out.
Oh, I
Matt
saw
was
it on
cutting
my
in
end
and
too.
Yeah, you were cutting in and out a bit, but a lot of the time when you cut out, it was pretty easy to get the gist of everything that you were saying. I don't think that you were like completely changing the subject in those few seconds that you cut out. It's fun that you brought up that whole thing of, he still hasn't, admitted Dan's the GOAT, etc. But, we live in an age now where people don't concede. So what does it matter? But speaking of Snyder again, though, Frank, we saw him come. He got this close to another singles match where he would have gone up against Collins again. And Snyder's had this whole thing lately where every time someone is beaten him, he comes back and he beats them. And the last time we saw Snyder go up in a singles match, it didn't really go his favor either. Back in New York against Oyama. The way Snyder has been playing, as player of the year, but also as this guy who can sort of kind of get in his own head and needs help kind of pulling himself out, and it might not always be, he might not always be successful. Do you think that we may, with all the rookies that are coming in and the talent, are we ever going to see Snyder actually get a chance to be in a singles championship match again?
I definitely think we'll see Snyder back again. I think the match against Murrah only reaffirmed what level Snyder is playing at. It really didn't come down to who knew what necessarily. I think it came down more to strategy of the game, and I think Dan has proven over his tenure and all the dozens of singles title matches he's played in his career that he really knows how to strategize around the game, and that ultimately was the thing that put Morrill over the edge in his match against Snyder. Snyder, took risks in that second round, and it didn't pan out for him, and that's why, if you really look at it, why he ultimately lost the game. It wasn't because of that first question. Sure, without Roxy, it probably does cost him right there and then, but he does have Roxy in his corner, so you can never now count out Jeff Snyder to go into funk and not get out of it, or at least bank on that happening, because there's a high probability Roxy's going to have something to say about it. And I think, as we've seen in the past, she pulls out 10 times out of 10. With Snyder, I think, and these incoming rookies, it's going to be a while before they build up a resume to challenge for singles title. It's going to take another Adam Collins-like run, or an Oyama run, or a Kevin Smets run. I just don't know. It certainly looks like they grow on trees from year to year, but you can't be certain every year, especially with this crop of rookies that come in. Who knows truly what they can do? So I think Snyder will get back there. He's still in the top 5 ranked right now, so he does have a little bit of a shorter road than most to get to a title shot, and so we'll see.
All right, very cool. Now, just want to remind everyone one more time, since this is the last round before we go into the finals, that everyone still does have their mute available. At any point, they can use it to shut the other two people up and say whatever they want for 10 minutes. That can derail the conversation.
10 minutes.
10 seconds. I'm sorry. You want to be 10 minutes? Want to be 10 minutes? No.
I mean, that means whoever says mute first as soon as that clock starts at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Or it could be 10, if it was 10 minutes, it would just give us time for you to figure tech issues, Matt. Oh, you're so frozen, you can't even respond to me.
I feel it, man. I've had issues. I've had issues in the past. That's why I broadcast from work.
All right, Matt, just move around a bit, say stuff. I want to see how you're doing.
Yeah. I think he's gonna pop out and come back in. So.
All right. Yeah. Why don't you? He'll pop out. He'll come back in. Let's see how that
Can
works.
I use my mute on clear? Kelsey, where was that when I played? That is very true. Yeah, Jeff, that was a smart idea. Let me go ahead and check and see if we have any Streamlabs here.
Yeah, why don't you do that? By the way, we have a Streamlabs if you haven't done it before. I would say that it's in the bottom right, but we have a spoiler banner, so just check we have it pinned to the top of the chat there, streamlabs.com/Schmoe Me The Money. Now we got 2 Matts. What's going on? Oh, there we go. All good?
Am I good?
Yes.
Funny, it happened before around this time last time I came on too. So
it's all right. It's all rigged against you. It's fine. Anyways, so now we got, now I guess the big thing is we've talked a lot about, the idea of it being Snyder versus Merle and how Merle did, how Snyder did. We didn't really talk about, did this sort of match really live up to the expectations of what a Snyder v Merle match could have been? Do you think it could have been better? Do you think that there's anything that you wish could have happened that didn't? Just general thoughts again. But it always fills the time pretty well for that sort of conversation.
I feel like he did, because the idea that Jeff, he went and he has stumbled. Unlike previous matches, he was able to bring himself back up from what he needed. So he kept it competitive versus just
fives rather than just
going out.
Frank's like, I'll say
Frank
a
muted.
word while they're both
Frank
talking.
muted.
I got it.
Yeah, I think it definitely did live up to the hype. The guys missed 3 questions each. So I mean, this isn't a 5-rounder, which is what we normally see Dan play. But it was 3 rounders, and these questions are evolving, and I think we saw the evolution of that. And both players handled it well from last season into this season. Merle's coming off a loss, Snyder's coming off a loss against the one guy Adam Collins are all trying to get back to. I just think that when you look at how they really played that first round, whether they both used their repeat on that first question, was
they did, which
really
set a really interesting pace for that match. Absolutely. So I'm
it's not a 5-rounder. This is what you can expect from a 3-round match. It's people are like, oh, it wasn't as exciting. I was expecting more. What do you expect? It's a 3-round match.
Well, the idea that yes, you had a potential Snyder meltdown and it actually didn't happen, which I think made it really interesting. He broke down for a minute and then you got him right back in and he kept it competitive. And that is what you want against Merle. You want to see it competitive. You want to see it go all the way down to the end. See if they're going to be able to go into overtime again. Which overtime for Dan Merle is becoming a very consistent type of.
That's because people have to play at the same standard as Dan Merle, which is playing at the same standard as the greatest of all time, which is the most important thing.
If Snyder was going to be the greatest of all time, that is what he had to do, and he was doing it as best he could. He got a question that really messed him up. He had to second-guess himself, and that happens. Even the greatest competitors can have a second-guess question, and they can change their answer, even though they know what it's correct. I feel like Snyder knew what the answer was. He just changed it last minute because Dan had to ask for a JTE. It was strategic. Very strategic game, and that is what you want with this level of competitor. You want to see the strategy come in.
The fact of the matter is, when
you're not listening, but it's fine. I'm gonna keep talking because I'm making some good points.
I'm gonna keep talking. I gotta separate me and Frank right now. That's the big thing. I gotta keep separating this.
Frank, I will mute and let you take my time just to get over him. I don't care at this point. Listen, you're going to keep talking.
Those Buckeyes got to stick together. Hold on.
Oh, speak for yourself. Listen, there is.
Hey, no, I just here. Frank made, like I said,
made good points. I know. Yeah, say it again.
He does make good points. That's why he's good.
I love talking. I love listening.
Yeah, I know. So just use my entire argument right now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, say everything I said.
I was just
and then punt it off as your
own. And I said it before you even said a word. I said that people were upset because people were upset because it wasn't a 5-rounder.
What I said.
This is what I expected. I said that before you. So calm down.
Yeah.
A 5-round match, Snyder would have even the speed round has consistently not been his best match and
Hey,
or
Dan
his
hasn't
best
done the best
round.
match in the
So
speed
Merle
round
would have
either.
gotten more ahead of him. So I think it's
Snyder knows
better
the
that
guy.
it was a third round
Play
match
how
because
he plays.
Snyder's going to be able to keep up with him better in a third round match than he is going to be able to 5-round match because he hasn't had that greatest showing in the speed rounds. So I think this was a good favor for him, and I think it kept it competitive, and it definitely lived up to the hype. And I think it's something that's going to lead up to a very good rematch eventually, perhaps down the line, because I think Snyder is still on a revenge tour. He wants to get that title shot
This match
back.
completely convinced me that Snyder could beat Merle. It's just a matter
Absolutely.
of playing it strategically, and it's not really a matter of difference of
all right.
knowledge.
Right.
at this
Right.
point. Oh, he said mute? Okay. I
he
normally
said
don't
mute.
hear what he says anyway, so...
Yeah, well,
He mute. Hold on.
I muted like 15 seconds into it. And
He said mute. Give him 10 seconds because he did say mute. So just
go for it.
give him 10.
You wanted it.
Give him.
Go, Matt. Go. I'm counting.
Look, I love Jeff Snyder. I said last time I was on here, at the end of the day, if he missed one question, you knew this was going to be over. It's just one of those things. Ultimately, he lost. That's what it boils down to. He lost, and he had his mini freak out in the post game. So it is what it is.
All right.
I love how Frank's like, I don't care that you said mute. I'm just gonna keep
Honestly, I
talking.
didn't even hear that he said mute. I just thought he was just still talking as per how it's been going. I couldn't really tell.
I come to try to win, Frank. That's I got redemption I got to deal with right now.
Oh, well, that's your own.
Yeah.
But with that, Frank will have to stay backstage for this final round here. But we will bring him back.
Thank you for hanging out.
No problem. Yeah, that's fun.
So, we are now on to our final round here, where we just classified it as cutscenes.
Oh boy.
We got so many good cutscenes this week. There were a few where I'm like, oh dear God, just stop talking. And I am referencing
The two with the first singles match.
Leave your thoughts for the actual conversation.
Yeah.
No, I was just
don't say
asking. Was that the one he was referencing?
No. It doesn't matter. We don't know.
Meg,
we can hate the other
since
ones.
you are in the lead, the prompt is basically which one was your favorite and why. You can either go first or let Matt go.
I'll go first. It's fine.
Go ahead.
So probably my favorite cutscene would be that very first one where we saw Drew Guy come out of his sleep, whatever this is. Just made my action heart just a flutter to see all those great, all the little Easter eggs from previous team action matches, and we get that feeling of he's in a time warp. He's not in this present time. And that was further accentuated when we get into the following scene. But this scene in particular was this first one where we got to see that the idea that he has, it's return to form of the Dastardly, which is what Action Army has been wanting to see happen. We have loved this guy from the very beginning when these guys first came into the match, and to see a glimpse of that, and it really makes it very interesting to see how is he going to be able to interact with all these other competitors when he seems to be living in this 2017 mind, and everybody else has gone through this crazy time, and how is he going to be able to react? It sets up so many great things moving forward, and I love that they have started off with this, because last we knew he was just in the back of a van. We didn't know what happened. We still don't know what he was doing between the back of the van and to now. So I think it's set up so many great things, and it get a lot of fan service to a large group of fans, and it's going to set up so many great things. And the idea that we got to see all these things that in time, I said time at time. I'm good.
Yeah, I think you are good. Unless Matt comes up with some really good things, I think this is Meg's. Sorry, Matt.
Is it the Costco whiskey? What brand is that?
This is Old Forester Statesman. Gotta rep the Kingsman franchise.
Nice. Nice. I only said Costco because I know you were mentioning Costco whiskey like last night.
You can't get that in Ohio because we have a state liquor license or a state liquor agency. So I have to go to like Indiana if I want the Costco liquor.
So,
do you go to Indiana just to get your whiskey?
I did before Corona.
So same question to Matt. Which was your favorite cutscene and why was it your favorite?
So ultimately, my favorite cutscene was the one we got at the end of the live match, which ties into the cutscene she just mentioned. It was Andrew Guy showing up at Ben Bateman's house, and it was the sign that we had Andrew Guy's mind basically Winter Soldiered and put in the blender. He thinks it's 2017. He's talking about, oh my God, my computer's glitching out right now, isn't it?
Keep going.
Keep
You're
going.
good. Keep going.
Keep going. Keep going. You're good.
Okay, but no. It was funny to me because you end up if you look back at that first scene, that Team Trek match is on the television. He's talking about, I know how we can beat Team Trek. I know how we can beat Team Trek. I'm like, is the scrambled Andrew guy's brain watching this match and having ideas on how I can beat him? Either way, I think this is the most interesting thing to do. I know I lost this. Congrats. I'm glad I lost to a Buckeye, and I'm just going.
You still got 3 minutes after that. Keep going, man. Just talk about it.
Keep up the fight, buddy.
Don't give up.
No. It's I got nothing. I'm time. I got nothing.
Okay, I guess so.
Okay.
I guess Zach cut the time on that one. There's no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Just
so
Matt decided to roll
3
over and
minutes
die.
No, I like literally. I like all my points from that I made yesterday have just like left my head. So I'm just like, okay. Keep in mind,
Might as well drink.
I'm running on 4 hours of sleep, and I've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning.
boy.
So,
You could have said we could have gotten someone else if you.
well, here's the thing. I didn't want to cancel on you guys short notice because I love you over here at Schmoe. I almost said Schmoes from the North. Schmoe Me The Money. We had agreed to this before work called me in and said, hey, your supervisor got gasoline in their eyes, so we need you to come in and work early.
Jeez. Okay.
Oh, man.
So
I work at the Costco gas station, so it happens.
Final prompt here. I just want to hear some predictions as to where we can see some of these storylines from the cutscenes we saw this past week. Where do you think we're going with some of these?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I saw was now that we're seeing Grace as Christian's boss and knowing how long she has been in the league, how is she not perhaps involved with the Schmoeminati?
It's Anarchy 2.0. Ellis is leading the Schmoeminati,
it is,
and
but
Grace
you
is
know
under
what?
his thumb.
It makes things fun. It makes things fun and interesting. It doesn't matter.
Jeff, you brought up a valid point yesterday on Spun from the Real. In wrestling, the heel commissioner is not known for a good take. It worked out because we got all these different teams that were fun to play with.
I stole someone
that's what
else's
it was.
comment, but yeah.
But here's the thing. We're also going to be able to see these really
I
interesting
admit it, too.
dynamics inside of the factions because we
can.
have all the Winston swag dynamic that's going on. Chandru's got his own little side deal going on, which is really interesting. You know, it's going to break my heart. But if Ben Bateman has to break it again to Andrew Guy that they have broken up as a team, it is going to make all of us cry, and it's going to hurt all of our hearts.
Leading to
But
Chris
here's the
Jericho
thing.
getting cut and Andrew Guy getting picked up on the dungeon. Because
Well, now there is an interesting thought, but the
When you
idea,
look at that
are you going to cut is Christian really going to let Kaiser cut a wrestler off
yes,
of
because
a
Roxy's just going to pick
faction?
him up right afterwards. Roxy's going to pick him up right
Who's
afterwards.
Roxy going to get rid of? She's got a full roster. She's got nowhere to go. That's the
Probably.
thing with these. Everybody's got full rosters now, so people are
And I
going to get
agree.
cut regardless.
Roxy wants Jericho for some odd reason at 0-2.
Well, the idea of he seems to think he will only play for her because they have that connection outside of Schmoedown,
And
which,
good
you know,
for
the
them.
guy's busy. I don't mind that. But again,
Hey.
back to these cutscenes, we've got the Ben Bateman and Merle
Well, here. You want to know
going
what
at
adds
each
the
other,
most
but
credence
working
to
together
John
with
joining
Kaiser.
Merle?
Oh my goodness, it is
Team with,
beautiful because Kaiser is
Kaiser,
now on
Merle,
edge
and
within his
Bateman.
own faction.
They
He's
don't
got to
agree
work
to the
with
fact that they're going to be a team. Bateman there's that line there when Bateman's kind of like, yeah, we might be a team, we might not, we'll see. But that's when I saw that, and I see that next cutscene of Guy being talking to Bateman, saying, "Hey, I know how to beat Team Trek, this, that, and the other." I'm like,
Ben is not going to take a competitor that thinks he's back in 2017.
Hey,
That's not smart business. He is a
Andrew Guy
boss.
in
He's not going to
2017
care.
Hold on. Andrew Guy
He's
in
not gonna do it.
2017 was the good version of Andrew Guy. That's when Andrew Guy actually was decent at trivia. So at the end of the day,
You know what? That was a totally different league. That's the
It
thing.
was.
Is he
It
going to be
was.
able to keep up with what's going on? Yes, would it make an
knows?
amazing heel turn
Who
and
knows?
a further down the heel line for Ben
Hats
to
off to you.
then. Wow, you went there, good sir.
Good.
Don't choke on your ambition there, good sir.
nah, I choked on my ambition by agreeing to do this.
Oh,
Oh,
with
wow.
that, we do have our winner.
Buckeye won. That's all that matters.
Winner! Megs.
Dr. Megs.
Dr. Meg. So we'll go ahead and bring Frank back on there. Frank, I just want to get your thoughts just real quick. What was your favorite cutscene?
My favorite cutscene, I guess it's, damn, I mean, I like them all, but I think it's the Bateman guy one. I think that one's really fun. That one has like the most, I don't know, depth and realism, and I think it's probably because it's Andrew Guy and Bateman are able to shoot like on location where they're at, and it's not Skype call, so you know, I think that's probably why. But still, nonetheless, that story is still very interesting. We don't have a lot to go on as of right now, so and the scenes have been great. They haven't delivered us too much information, but I've still enjoyed them. So I think that so far has been my favorite of the bunch.
That was probably my favorite as well, just because, like, really loved the, like, just, you know, as an action person, just, you know, seeing Guy wake up in his old suit there, and then he's drinking out of his, you couldn't see it, but that decanter, it has Action Industries inscribed on it.
That's cool.
So, and then, you know, he turned it around so you couldn't see it, but that's fine because in the next scene, Ben made sure when he was walking over the door, he had his Action Industries masks on full view for anyone to see. But I like that second one because it built off of that first one, because the first one's just like you're thinking you don't know really the whole time warp necessarily. You just remember him. You just see you see that he has an old match on the TV. You don't think anything of it at that point. You just think, okay, something's weird about Drew, why he's dressed like he used to be. He's not debonair anymore. He's not whatever the hell happened to him last year. And he's not, and he's back to the dastardly. He's back to the origins. What we see in the new one really excited me because suddenly there's more scenes that could happen if he's, you know, antagonizing or bugging Ben now. And we got to see Ben do his whole thing of like his weird shit in the mirror. Which I found it funny, and I mentioned it I think last night on Spin from the Rail too with Matt, that it's interesting that we have both members of former Team Action. One of them, we're just going to say for the moment, like the assumption is he thinks it's 2017 right now, which is funny because the location where he went to go to Ben is not the same location that Ben lived in 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. But
hey, you got to make it work somehow, right?
Of course, it's not like we saw their home before, but we have one who actually thinks it, and we have one guy who, from the way he's looking at his suits and is in the mirror, and he happens to be starting to act like he did back in 2017 as well. Even though that's just more possibly just a heel turn, it's just a funny coincidence that they're both kind of reverting back to the way that they used to be through two different means. So, but that was definitely the most fun, and especially it had the best capper to it of like, where is your mask? Why do people keep asking me that?
Yes.
That might be my favorite line from this past week. Why
That
is
was
everyone
good.
saying that? We did get a Streamlabs from John Lestrina, hashtag Ladies Night. Megs isn't a 10-second car. She's a 9-second car. Straight up American muscle. Hashtag family.
Hashtag.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That is John Lestrina, who is on our panel for The Family Show, which is our retrospective on the Fast and Furious series. We had, you want to be on for Fast and Furious 6?
5 and 6.
5 and
5 and 6. We'll see what we could do there. It depends if you just kind of like, you know, turn over and die on that show like you did tonight.
Oh, those two movies. Hey, in my defense, I am like, I feel dead right now, and I have a 4-hour movie to go watch after this. So
You have to do it tonight? Damn.
yeah, because of my schedule this week.
Yeah. By the way, the 4-hour movie is The Irishman plus the extra
Right.
credits stuff, guys. That's what he's watching after this, and nothing else that could be 4 hours coming out in March 2021. But
So I just want to say thank you to all three of you for being on. It was such a blast to have everyone on. Frank, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at FrankieJ29, and of course the Schmoedown Rundown Thursdays at 6 p.m. Specific.
Specific
Yeah, specific time. 6 p.m. specific time. Yeah.
Don't mind Matt. That's the whiskey and lack of sleep talking.
Meg, where can we find you online?
Instagram and Twitter at Megs_reclaimed, as well as the new show I just started, After Action Report, on Mondays for PT 7 Eastern, breaking down all the numbers from the matches in the previous week. And I will randomly pop on other C2A and action industry stuff as well.
Matt,
cool.
where can we find you when you're sober?
I am sober right now. This is just, it's been a day. No, you can find me over on the Who Are They Real Entertainment Network hosting Real Talk, Spin from the Real, and yeah, that's actually all I host, thank God. Unlike Chris, who does like 4 shows for us.
Meg's one Ferris.
Meg's one Ferris. I laid down like
He pulled a Snyder, basically.
yeah.
You said it. You're the one who said it.
I don't care.
did.
Snyder can come after me. I don't care. I don't care.
Can I just point out something real quick?
It's only fitting. Frank.
Yeah, what's up?
It's an honor. to
I'm
meet
just loving in the chat. They're just reciting Fast and the Furious.
you. I know,
Yeah, no,
I love it.
It tracks. It tracks. Absolutely.
So, Frank, that's what they do a lot in the generals chats and all of it. That's what they do, and that's when that's where we got the idea for this Fast and Furious thing. There's no reason to start a show on Fast and Furious right now.
Hold on.
There's no relevant reason. But then
By the way.
the week before, what?
I can get you someone for Fast 8 who actually worked on the film.
Oh, very interesting. I'm glad that you said it live instead of behind the scenes so we could build up to it. No. So Ferris, when we had a show and people were swearing on it, and he just goes, "I thought this was a family show," and I'm like, "No, it's not a family show, but we could have a family show." So everyone, we could have a show.
Is that the
about
name of your
family.
podcast for Fast and Furious, The Family Show?
Yes.
The family show. It's on this channel.
Great.
We only had
Very
the
good.
first episode this past Friday. We're going to do it again this coming Friday, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard. We're going systematically. We're going through 1, 2, 3, all the way down the line in chronological order of their release dates. So we're not going to be doing it based on 1, 2, 3, 6 or whatever.
1, 2, 3.
But whatever that ends up
4,
being.
So,
I'm sorry, I'm just
Yeah.
cracking
1,
up.
2, 3,
at
4,
Zach
5.
Zach McDonald here. He's
6,
just
3,
random
7.
line. 40 weight sounds nice. It's really killing me right now.
That would be
because
this guy right
I
here.
can,
Exactly.
I can hear it in my head, and it's killing me. It's still like such an innocuous line. It's so
Dude,
great.
he does it all
Yeah.
day, every day. It's so great.
So yeah, it's been fun getting to revisit the Fast and Furious things, but this show definitely went fast and furious, and we were really excited to keep this going. We're really happy that you guys came here and showed up, and it was really exciting and a lot of fun. Thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah,
Thanks for
Jen,
Absolutely. Thanks for
where
having
can
us.
Where can we find you and everything you're doing?
You can find me in Philadelphia. It's in Pennsylvania. And but you can also find me online at GEOFF1106. That is my name on Twitter. It is also Instagram. If you do that, I don't, but I have it. And other than that, you got me here for the stuff we do. We just finished up our WandaVision recaps on Saturdays. Next week, we're going to start doing the Falcon Winter Soldier. Matt will be on there. We also have the family show. This week, it's going to be, like I said, midnight Friday. Midnight Eastern, and then after that, I believe we're going to be moving it to Thursdays. This Thursday, though, we will have an interview that we're going to be running with What the Show co-hosts and future married couple Mike Deacon and Bethany Curl. So that'll be a lot of fun. You know how we do our interviews here, and we're hoping that they
Apparently,
can
that's the
come
only
with
thing I
it as
can
well.
win.
Yeah, our interviews.
So,
Yeah. So, but other than that, I mean, just this. Yeah. And Buck, where can people find you other than everywhere that I've already said that you're at?
you can find me here on Twitter at BrandonBuck88. I tweet Schmoedown.
You're on
Sports.
Twitter. This is Twitter.
Yes, on Twitter. So make sure to give me a follow there. Just make sure to check out our other shows. We got our 2-on-2 interview on Thursday. We got our family show, Fast and Furious, on Friday. And then next week, same time, next Tuesday, we will have another one going over this week's matches. As always, everyone, thank you very much.